But I want the board to be seen.
Board can be seen.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay. Open with a joke. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about can you be religious while still being an atheist? And I'm going to talk about the philosophy of Immanuel K and T.
I'm moving it back there.
It's not pronounced as Kant. It's not pronounced as Canet. It's pronounced as Kant. And I'll give you 10 seconds to absorb that.
He's literally giving
Okay, let's
It's supposed
start.
to be a joke.
You laughed, right?
I love
So we're going to talk about the philosophy of Immanuel Kant or Kant. So I'll give you a little history of what he was. And Immanuel Kant. I'm going to say Kant because Kant sounds weird. Immanuel Kant was a philosopher of the 18th century, and he was a German, and he lived in a place which is now in Russia, but his upbringing was German upbringing. His father was a very very small person. He was a saddle maker. He lived a very poor life, till he was in his 50s. And when he was in his 50s, he was one of the most famous persons. So when he was in his 50s, he was one of the most famous persons in the world. Like he was almost like Einstein of the 18th century, or like the Leonardo DiCaprio of the 18th century. So his philosophy, he was a philosopher. And the problem with philosophy is this, that most of the time when we talk about philosophy, there are a lot of questions, okay? And the question is because a lot of time philosophies are not are things which are unfalsifiable. Okay, I'll make some claim and then you'll say, no, I have an example other than that. So philosophy is when you observe something in general, right? And you just right out say that these are my observations. I'm not sure. See, when you go and you test out your observations, when you make all your observations and see whether the conclusions which I'm drawing from my observations are exactly correct or not in reality, going to every individual and checking that, it's called empirism. That's like you're trying to come up with an empirical observation, right? But philosophy doesn't work like that usually. So his philosophy is called ethics. Okay, and ethics is the philosophical study of moral action. What is morally right and what is morally wrong? Okay, Immanuel Kant tried to explain that. And I also want to, because I'm looking at Rajat, I also want to tell that I will not take any question during this talk.
One question.
He just said, don't take.
Not from me. That's what he told that.
Let me complete the question thing and I'll come. So I'll not take any questions within this talk because questions usually take us to tangents which is not focused around the topic which you usually want to talk about. So if you have any questions, just say it out. I'll write it down somewhere. If I can, answer it right then, I'll answer it.
We'll ask the
If I can't answer it right then, I'll in the end, if I don't know, then I'll just fuck off.
What's the difference between moral and ethics?
The same thing. That's what I'm saying. Ethics is a philosophy of moral conduct. Ethics is the name. Like you're asking me what's the difference between science and experiment. Ethics, that thing, is a philosophy of moral conduct.
Is it subject or object?
That's what I'm coming to. Yeah, that's what Immanuel Kant says. I can make it an objective thing. So, what is ethics? First of all, the first question is what is ethics? So, Immanuel Kant says that the entire purpose of ethics is to talk about the well-being of any individual or the goodness, right? And he has categorized into 3 different categories. He says this being good has a part of being kind, being virtuous, and being happy. Being kind, being virtuous, and being happy. And Immanuel says that I can objectively, come up with a model in which all these things would fit. So being kind, we know what being kind is. Being kind is how you treat others. Treat others, in a good way. Virtuous is to do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. Okay, I'll repeat that, to do the right thing because you know it is the right thing to do. And being happy is according to Kant, being happy is being able to act freely under the moral laws. When you have freedom, you're happy, but you're still under the moral laws. Okay, I'll explain all that.
Okay, can you just repeat what kind was? I missed that.
How you treat others.
Okay.
Hitler thinks it's right thing to kill Jews. Is he virtuous?
Good question, I'll answer it later. Right thing to do.
Write down.
Be happy is when you're free under moral laws. Okay. So first, I told you that he was an extremely famous person, and he was writing. Most of his writings came out during this phase of this world, which was called the Enlightenment period, and
What is the dates, years?
I'd say 18th century, like late 18th century.
17th to
Yeah, in 1784 he wrote a book called What is Enlightenment, where he identified that most of the people at that time, amongst most of the people that time, the idea of secularism has started to grow, where people don't stick to their own religion. They also think that other religions are might be equally good. So the secular ideas had started during the 18th century. So I'll start with what was his observations and biases. So I'm not just calling it his observations. So please understand that I'm not telling you that I very strongly believe in Immanuel Kant or that what he's saying is right. I just studied him, and whatever I could understand, I'm just trying to present that. And hence I didn't call it his observations, I called him his observations and biases, because I definitely felt that there are some biases on which his model is works. If you also have that bias, and if you also have that observation, maybe you'll resonate with it. So he says that traditional religion, he studied religion, and from now on, whenever I say traditional religion, I mean the religion of the God, and Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam, whatever. And when I just say religion, I would not mean this religion. I will define what religion is in a different way. So he says that traditional religion, although when we scrutinize it intellectually, we feel that it is bullshit. Okay, it is based on ideas which have no sense. It has no rationality behind it, right? But he says that when he observes his father, who lived his whole life in utter hardship, he says that the religion, although he didn't understood religion completely, his father, but it helped him a lot in coping up with the hardships of life. And he observed this in a lot of people among the societies, that when things become really hard, this religion gives them hope that something better will come, someone is watching over you, and to cope up this difficult situation. So he said that we should not be black and white, as in like we should not be like this, there's some idea in this which is bad, so let's reject everything. He was like, in religion also there are some ideas which are good, and we can take those ideas out and leave the things which are bad in it. He also believed that, so the first thing was like cope up with hardships. So it helps you to cope up with hardship, was his observation. The second thing which he says is, it helps you. It helps fostering social cohesion and community. Okay, when we all believe in the same thing. Let's say we were all very religious Hindus. Maybe we would meet every week and do some bhajans, or would go to some temple and meet and talk and share our problems. So it creates a good social vibe. It creates social cohesion among people, where people are like all individuals, but they have some reason to come together and stay in a community. So he said that it's a good thing. It increases the purpose which we are trying to serve as being this big civilization that we are. And he also understood that any traditional religion, which I'm going to call TR from now on, TR has some fundamental ideas. Any traditional language has some fundamental ideas. For example, Hinduism says that it began with that there's this Parabrahman, and then Advait, non-duality, and then there's duality, and there's Krishna, there's this Shankaracharya, and there's a lot of ideas. He said that those ideas are not enough. With those ideas, religion ethics, where almost every religion wants to tell you what is the right thing to do, what is the wrong thing to do. Don't do this, don't do that, do that, do this. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. Okay. So they are all trying to develop a code of ethics. Then the third thing which traditional religions have is beauty. So Emmanuel argues that beauty is something which attracts everyone. So the fact that we are all attracted to something which is very beautiful, or most of us say that that thing is very beautiful, and we just talk about that thing, sort of connects it in a way that we come out of our narrow lives of what is my problem today, what I have to do there, and for that 1 minute we talk about something which is like more universal and not in a very arrogant way. Like that is so beautiful, and So he says that this beauty they are trying to put inside religion. So for example, I read Ramcharitmanas and I found it extremely beautiful. The verses are very beautiful, very poetic. You read Gita, if you are reading with an idea that I don't want to like push it off, it's something which is written, let me not like be biased whether it's right or wrong, you'll find it's beautiful in many places. You'll find that sculptures are made of God, you'll find that Christianity, the chapels and everything, they always try to put beauty with religion.
Is he an atheist or like?
And then, yeah, so that's also a question. Get answered, I guess. He was a pessimist. So that is one bias of his, which people usually say that he was a pessimist. And he believed that human character is always prone to corruption. Okay? That if you don't do anything about yourself, you'll get corrupted. You will not automatically be a good person if you don't be conscious. If you don't consciously make yourself a good person, you're prone to corrupt. Like for example, if you want to keep an apple from getting bad, you'll keep it inside a fridge. You'll apply an external effort to do that. If you just keep it outside, it'll just rot. And then he makes another claim, which is again his bias, and his whole model is based on his bias, is that as rationality has led us to objective reality, right? We use rationality to understand objective reality. What is objective? For example, there is a MacBook Air kept here. We all would agree to that. It's an objective reality because our reason says that if we want something to be there, it is there, and we know that there are no other things to put a hologram here. So we are sure that it is there. It's an objective reality for us. The same way, he says that rationality can lead you to objective morality as well, like it leads you to objective reality. So he says that rationality can lead you to objective morality. Is it boring?
So if 90% of the country people think that we should kill all other country people, is it morally correct? Because
yeah, I will come to that. That's a good question.
Note it down somewhere. You will forget.
Huh? No, I'll remember. If it's I think if your question doesn't get answered by the end of this talk, please like.
And also the Hitler question.
Yeah, Hitler question. So he says rationality can lead us to objective morality. As one of your questions was, what is morality objective? I think you asked. Someone asked. Yeah. So now this was what he does. This was his observations and his biases. And now I'll talk about the model which he created. Okay.
How did he validate that rationality can also lead to objective?
He didn't validate. That's why it's a bias of his. It's a bias. And even as us being people very close to science and mathematics, we also, if someone tells us that there is someone who's trying to show that as rationality leads you to objective reality, it is also leading you to objective morality, we tend to agree to that because we believe in rationality in a way.
Confirmation. Confirmation bias.
It's a confirmation bias basically. So that's why I said it's his biases. Not that I believe in it or something, but that's what he said. Now I'll go to his conclusions in the model which he created. And this model is basically the center of this talk, which is can you be an atheist and still be religious? So his conclusions from his observations and model.
Can you just again tell me what was the TR?
Traditional religion. No.
Okay, and second one?
Which ethics? He was a pessimist. Oh, my handwriting is. No, it's not fucked up. I'm trying to make it fucked up because it's a sign of intelligence when you write. Traditional religion cope with hardships, and it has beauty in it, and it helps you for social cohesion. Is what I said.
Fundamental ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he, as I said, argued that intellectually religion is bullshit, but practically it might help. It might have something which might be of a benefit. And the problem is why he wants to create. He wanted to create a religion, basically. The reason he wanted to create a religion was he thought that a lot of us, because we are prone to corruption, we know and realize what is the right thing to do, but we don't act according to it. For example, I realized long back when I was in 10th or 9th that I have to lose weight. Right? So I thought that I should go for jogging and go join a gym, but I never did. Although it was the right thing for me to do, I never acted, accordingly. When I see a fat person, I feel like, why the fuck don't you go to the gym? You're so fat. When a person fatter than me, but I don't feel the need to go to the gym on my own. So that's like a thing where you know and realize something, but you don't act accordingly. So,
Just to interrupt you for a second, that kind of comes down to what I said earlier, right? When you consciously have to make a decision, when you consciously know that this is what you're supposed to do, but your subconscious is so in tuned with that behavior that you just can't. It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
That's why smoking is bad for you, but you just can't stop.
I just can't.
Yeah, because
So he says that, but what he found in religious people is, even if something is going against their self-interest at that moment, but if they religiously believe in that idea, they will do it. So, like people, like for example, in Hinduism, there's this idea that you have to get up early. So people who will legitimately believe in that idea, they all get up early at 4 o'clock, Brahma Muhurt, they'll get up, they'll take bath and do all this, which is actually good for them. One good part of religion maybe, okay. So, but you have to be religious about it. So being religious about it, for example, in some way, I think that we all here are a little religious about being reasonable. That we all believe that for every effect, there has to be a cause, there has to be a reason behind everything. And if we see something which is there and we are not able to explain its reason, we would never go with there is no reason. We would always say that we are not able to find that reason. Because we believe that there has to be reason. We have a faith, we have a religiousness of reason. That's what I meant, okay? So, yeah.
When he says religion, it's with God or without God?
Dude, I said traditional religion is where God comes. Okay, religiousness doesn't mean to have that idea. So fundamental idea can change. Okay. So now, he wanted to replace religious authority with the authority of reason, that is human intelligence. He wrote a book on this in the 18th century called Religion Within the Bounds of Reason Alone. Religion within the bounds of reasons alone. So his entire purpose, as I was telling you, was that we all realize and understand what is right, but we don't act. So the need for this model is to make people act accordingly. So action. Of, again, in the ethics is kindness, virtuousness and being happy. So I'll talk about how would you act to be kind. That's the first principle of his religion, the religion of rationality. So he says that, as I again repeated, that traditional religion is wrong in content, but it latches ethical behavior, some of the ethical behaviors, the things which we need. So for kindness, he gave an idea which is very, very famous in the 18th and 19th century, which made him one of the central figures of all the philosophers of all the times. It's called categorical imperative. Okay. So categorical imperative is a statement I'll just read out. That statement says, act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. What that means is, in simple language, do unto others as you would have them do to you. So don't behave with others in a way that you wouldn't want yourself to be behaved with. Okay. So I'll repeat, this is called universalizability. Universalizationability. It's called universalizationability. So basically it says, act in such a way that you would want your actions as a universal law. It means that if someone acts to you in the same way, you're okay with it. Because it's a universal thing, everyone is doing it. Okay, so I'll repeat that. Act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will or want that it should become a universal law.
So should I go
According to
on?
maximum.
Maxim means a rule of conduct, like how you behave.
So should I go on to kiss a random girl?
Oh, if you want that random girl to come and kiss
I want that thing for myself.
yeah, so Kant says that you can.
Good question, note it down, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question.
You shouldn't do it because it's lower.
But it is kind
But it's not virtuous, no, it's only kind.
So, based on this, he says that if you are married and if you are cheating with a younger girl, let's say you're male and you're cheating with a younger girl, then how do you know whether this is right or wrong? You know this is right or wrong if your spouse is also cheating with a younger guy. And if you're okay with that, then it is okay to you to do this. And if you're okay with all the couples in the world to do this, then you should be okay doing this. That's his argument. That's his argument.
Is like but incest is okay with, according to him, like if brother and sister are okay.
Consensual, yeah. If they're consensual, it's okay.
Adults and consensual probably.
Yeah?
Adults and consensual probably.
Yeah. No, but they also must think that if I am if I am having sex with my sister and she also wants to have sex with me and we are having sex, am I okay with all the brothers having sex with their sisters? Because it has to become a universal law. So then, what my intuition, what my internal mechanism would reason out. That will be my morals. That's how it defines morals.
Is that brother have to be okay with others, or like others have to be okay with that brother? Then it's morally correct for you.
No. If you feel that it is right to do, she should also feel that it is right to do, and you should also feel that it is right to be done in anyone has the right to do this.
So the question you asked, right? Like, let's say there is a girl, okay, and kiss a random girl.
No, I was just joking. I know.
So.
Yeah. So what
Can we do
he is trying to objectify morality. He said this is the best way I can give out an objective morality is that do the thing which you want to be done to you, or don't do the thing which you don't want yourself to be done on.
Himanshu, try and conclude quickly because
No, it's okay, man.
No, I want let at least the conclusion be in the video. Later we can continue
So I said this is called categorical imperative. It is imperative on anyone to act according to this. Now, the second principle of his religion is about I don't know what. So this is act so as to treat people always as ends in themselves and never as means. So act always in such a way that every person is an individual. He is looking for justice, he is looking for happiness, and he is looking for all the good things which you want in your life himself. And never act to a person as if he is a means to achieve something, but he is an end in himself. That person himself. So don't be bad to people. Don't behave, to people. Don't use people. Basically, that's what he meant. Don't use people to get something else. There's another part of philosophy which is called consequentialism. How to pronounce that? Wait a second. Consequentialism says that the only thing which matters is the final consequences, or final what you're getting done. So in that process, you can use people as means. Like I can manipulate him and get him to do something, so that the final thing is getting done. Whether he feels good or bad, he feels like unjust about it and whatever, that I don't care. But Immanuel Kant says that no, that's not the moral objective, because everybody has right to be happy and kind and just. So behave with people in a way that they are ends in themselves and not means to achieve something.
But what if it is like it is beneficial for the whole group, but not the individual is not comfortable with it?
Yeah. So he says that we should not think in that direction. That it is beneficial for the whole crowd and not beneficial for that particular person. So he says that stealing is bad, because if you are stealing someone's food, let's say you have 2 kids, and if you're going to steal someone's food, you would, if you were in that position, you wouldn't want your food to be stolen. So the right thing to do here is not to steal food, but the good thing here is to steal food and feed your kids. So Immanuel Kant says that choose the right thing, not the good thing. So there are many limitations where people have problems with this philosophy.
But consequentialism is supporting stealing, right?
What?
consequentialism is supporting this.
So,
Consequentialism is supporting stealing. Immanuel Kant is like
Okay.
his principles of ethics is not.
So Immanuel Kant says not to give to the kids, but even if
You don't steal even if your kids go hungry because you wouldn't want. Maybe if you can, if your heart says that you would be okay with someone stealing your food if they had to feed their kids, then you can go and steal someone. So he says that the moral compass is all within you. So there's no one can tell you that these things are right. The principles can be stated, but how to interpret them is like your choice in the end. Now,
can they keep changing throughout our life? Should they be constant throughout our life?
Right and wrong, how, what according
Can
to
these morals keep changing throughout our life, or should be a constant?
when he says that these are, that's what he says, it is categorical imperative. That you have to do this. Okay, that's why he called it the categorical imperative, like in every situation.
Like in one
Categorical.
situation I thought it was good, and the next situation I thought, okay, now this is my moral, let me steal.
So what he says that the meaning of categorical is something very explicit, very direct, and without any bullshit. Like directly he says that objective morality, if it has to exist, it has to exist like this. That you don't do something to others which you don't want yourself to be done.
But that again is different for different people, right? So that subjective element is again coming to the picture.
Yeah, I'll come back.
and
Okay,
according to him, Hitler is correct then.
yeah, I'll come back to that. Can you let me just
let's
finish? So he says that when you think about these two things which I have stated, that first thing the categorical imperative and the second thing that act so as to treat people always as ends in themselves and never means, when you think about this, you would feel that this is the voice of your own rational selves, that your own rational selves somehow has already told you that these are the right way to go. If you don't have a code of ethics with you to tell you what is right, what is wrong, the natural thing which you do is you do the things which is being done on you. And don't do the things which you don't like to be done on you, usually, like if you're a good person and stuff. That's what he says. And he says that this tells you what is right and what is wrong, and then religiously if you act on what you feel is right according to these laws, then you will develop your virtuousness, that you do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. And he says that virtuousness might be temporarily, at that present moment, might be against happiness, because at that present moment you might be getting some sort of pleasure which might make you happy. But he says that if you look at the bigger perspective of happiness, so he says that a permanent feeling of happiness comes from satisfaction, and that you will get when you are being virtuous. So he says that at that instant maybe you might feel that this is something I have to do because it is right, but it is not pleasurable for me, it is not making me happy. But in long term, because you have done it, you look back and feel happy on it automatically anytime. Then, so in the end he says that your own rational faculty, whatever it says to you to do, that is the only moral objectivity for you. For example, if there's an old woman whom Superman comes and helps, and she says like, you're such a good person, you helped me and everything. When the Superman says that, no, I'm doing this because my mom told me that it is the right thing to do, then the old woman would not actually say, but should say according to Kant that, oh shit, you're dumb. Because he is not acting according to the morals which he has cultivated in himself. He is acting according to the morals which is told by someone else.
But he believes in it, right?
That I don't know.
He believes it's his morals, right? All my morals are set by somebody, but I believe in it, it becomes
But
my
you
morals.
didn't reason it out on your own. You just believe, you're just doing it because someone tells that this is the right thing to do. That is like falling into the traditional religion in a way. Then he says that a free will and a will under moral laws are the same thing. So for the happiness part, he says that once you set up what are your moral laws, and he says that this is a categorical imperative, you can't deny this is a moral law. And once you set yourself free under the moral laws, then being totally free and being free under moral laws are one and the same things. And he wrote a lot about this there's a book which he wrote in 1793 called Critique of Judgment. And he said